Hey, what's up everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics. Welcome back. So today's video, I'm going to sketch some things for you, but that's not actually the topic of the video. The topic of the video is going to be 5 ways that I make money with my art endeavors. My digital art, really, because I'm a digital artist, but so it won't be as related to fine art, but some of the art is traditional as well. So I'll just jump on in and hopefully this will help you out. So what it is it's kind of a response to a request where somebody asked, how do you make money with your art? And I kind of thought about that because, there's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot of ways I could describe it, in a lot of details to each area, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, for instance, I do a variety of things to make money with my art, and it kind of all requires a little explanation. So what I'll do is I'll get started on the list, and then I'll explain each one, some in more detail because some require a little bit more explanation. So I'm going to start from the least profitable or the least money-making things at this juncture of where I'm at today. So the first one would be Patreon. Okay, so I have a Patreon account where I either share bits of my work process, artwork, tutorials, video tutorials, whatever, through Patreon, and people pledge to me monthly to kind of help me keep creating art. So it's kind of like Kickstarter, but it's in a monthly fashion. And you can stop at any time, but it allows people to say, oh, I like what Rob's doing, and I want to support his work. Here's X amount of dollars, and I have different levels in which people can support my work. Now, for me, that's been the least profitable thus far. And I don't know if that's because I just don't have the right levels or I don't contribute the right stuff to it. I'm not sure. I'm still relatively new to it, but I've heard other artists just take off and they can commit solely to that and make their living. That hasn't worked out for me, and that's fine. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well, because the other thing that I think is very important when it comes to being a creative digital artist or artist in general is being willing to kind of notice certain things will work and certain things won't, and not letting that affect you negatively, but using it as good information. So essentially, whenever you learn something about something you're doing, right or wrong, you have to take it into account and not be disturbed by it. So the more you learn to do this, the better your art will get, the better you'll profit as being a working professional and things like that. So essentially, every time something, we'll say even negative, occurs in the way that you're doing things, you need to learn to pull a good from that. And if you do that, you'll always be moving towards success. So that's the quintessential part of that. I just wanted to mention, because I think so many people look at it and they get disheartened and go, well, my art's not selling, so I must not be any good. Look a little bit further into that, and then, learn from that, and then grow from that, and move forward. Okay, so the next thing is, and just so everybody knows, so the Patreon thing doesn't bring in a large sum of my money at all, but it does grow at times. It does. I get certain people that would contribute, things like that. And then one thing I've just changed was I added a tier where I would help mentor people, help them with their work, and do Google Hangouts and things like that. So that's part of me adjusting and trying to learn new things about what might work and what won't. Okay, so that's one. And like I said, that's the least amount that I make from any of my digital art endeavors. Okay, so number 2 is commissions. So occasionally I sell commissions of my work. It can be fan art, it can be somebody's favorite character, it can be my character design, just whatever. So generally they're digital for the most part, but I also sell traditional art, and I'll just tell somebody, hey, I'll do a traditional art piece for you, but you got to cover shipping because I don't always know where they're located right off the start. So I'll sell a couple commissions a year. I don't sell a ton of them. I don't overly promote them, I guess, as much as I could. But I do occasionally sell them. They are quite rewarding. And actually, I sell the most of them, I guess, would be at comic conventions. So when I do comic book shows, I sell probably, I don't know, at least 5 sketches every time. Sometimes they're originals, sometimes they're sketches I do at the show. Usually I do pretty well with sketches at every convention I go to. I don't know why that is, but maybe I'm a people person. I don't know. So that's probably the second largest, or I'm sorry, the second smallest income that I receive from any of my endeavors. Okay, and like I said, generally it's digital when I do this type of stuff. And in that case, oh, and just to clarify on that, because somebody asked me a question about that not too long ago as well, so I'll kind of combine the answer to that. They asked, well, how do I sell somebody my digital rendition? And the answer to that is that you give them the only high resolution, and sometimes you give them the right of reproduction. That really depends, and you've got to seek out legal advice if you're going to get into any large contractual type stuff there. But generally, I'll tell people they can produce it, reprint it a couple times, whatever. As long as they don't make money off it, then they can print it as many times as they want. At least with my art, I don't worry too much about that. But there are licensing rights and things like that if it's somebody that's going to use it commercially, and that's when you'll want to, delve further into that whole bag of worms there. So yeah, so that's another one right there. And like I said, that's the one that I derive a little bit more than the Patreon, but not a tremendous amount of money there as well. And don't get discouraged. I'm going to get to some stuff that does a lot better. I just wanted to do them in an order where, you could kind of understand that some things will work out. These first couple might work out really well for you, and you might have a better secret sauce going on to what you're doing there. It's not to say that you won't be successful at any one of these, but I just want to give you my breakdown. Okay, so the next one is YouTube. Welcome to YouTube, everybody. And I think, and I could be wrong here, but I think they don't really want you to tell people how much you make. So I won't get into the exact numbers, but I'll break it down for you like this. I'll tell you the things that you are allowed to talk about that I see everybody talking about. It's basically $1 per 1,000 views. Okay. So you do the math. It's not a lot of money. You got to have a lot of views to make some kind of living or income off of YouTube alone. I'm not going to discount it because actually YouTube has been one of the things that's really helped me grow my exposure, and I think it leads to sales and the other things that I'll talk about here shortly. So overall, I think that YouTube is fantastic. I don't look at it as a strictly moneymaker. I wish I could get enough views to make a living off YouTube. That would be astounding, but it doesn't work that way. At least not for me. I mean, there are definitely channels out there that get absorbent amounts of views, and I'm sure they can live comfortably off just what they make there. And I'm sure even still that isn't their sole income, and they've probably monetized it further based on those views, because what ends up happening is it opens up doors to all these other avenues. So essentially, the exposure is great, but then it leads to other ventures from that exposure that are more beneficial than even the money that you would make off some kind of ad revenue from YouTube. So I guess with my state of mind on the whole YouTube thing is that it's a means to an end of other things. That it's not, you shouldn't look at it as what you can make off YouTube paying you ad revenue. At least that's my opinion. I'm sure, again, that there's other people out there that would disagree and that they make a healthy living off just, YouTube, and that's awesome. That's just not my experience with it. But it has led to some really neat opportunities. I'll get into those a bit here in a second. And that's actually stemmed from the YouTube growth and the audience that I have and things like that. So it is beneficial. It is a kind of a key essential ingredient to the whole bag of things, the bag of goodies. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. So there's that. Now, number 4 would be teaching online and digital content. Okay, so this is where it starts to get a little bit healthier of an income for me. I've actually been able to do pretty well with just this portion of making a living and justifying my the work that I do here. So what I do is I have, and a lot of you probably know this if you watch my channel, unless you're a first timer right now. So essentially with that, I make like digital products that I sell on my Gumroad that at times can do really well. And then I've also taught on a variety of platforms. This all kind stemmed from YouTube. So at first it was, I got approached by some teaching sites. Tuts Plus of Envato actually approached me and said, hey, we like what you're doing on YouTube. Would you like to teach a few courses for us? And they paid outright, and that was pretty cool. I won't talk numbers there just because I don't know what you're supposed to divulge there, and those numbers, I'm sure, are always changing, because that's just how markets work. So I don't want to get your hopes up and say numbers, but I'll tell you it's good money. It was good money because I don't do that anymore, but it was a nice, comfortable amount for the amount of work that you had to put into it. And I'm going to draw another face here because that one's pretty bad. So that was cool. I led into some teaching deals, and then after that ran its course. I now teach some stuff on Udemy. So that's where you create your own stuff, and you kind of drive your own audience, and they help you drive an audience and things like that. And that one's been beneficial. Not huge numbers, but all of it combined. That's why I kind of threw it together with digital content and teaching. I kind of look at it like it's all kind of in that same bag of things. And it's worked out pretty well. So that's been like probably the second biggest moneymaker as a digital artist that I can, budget out or whatever and look at the numbers. Now the first and the biggest and to date, and it's really kind of almost a close second or a close first, and the digital content and teaching being a close second, is my freelance work. Okay, so I'm basically a storyboard artist some of the time, when I get my gigs or whatever, my jobs. And I'm also a comic book artist, but I do a lot less comic book work just because and I don't want to dishearten anybody, but it's tough to get the numbers where they need to be for me anyways. Supporting a family and do all the stuff that I do. I'll do occasional freelance comic gigs, but I'm probably a little bit higher. I've had people say that to me. I'll get offers and I'll give them a page rate, and they're like, "Whoa, that's high." It's like, well, sorry, I'm not gonna work for peanuts over here. It's like, I guess I'm a little bit spoiled because I've done jobs, art jobs where you make, good money, and it's hard to kind of go back, and it's hard to work for really low page rates and things like that. Even though I love comics, and that's why I do it on here, because I love sharing the art of comics and doing what I do, but I'm also not going to work for a really low rate. Now that's actually where storyboards comes in, because they're a very creative comic-like profession, not quite the same as comics, but they pay a lot better. I don't want to talk numbers because I want to talk a little bit after I give you these five and tell you why. I don't want to make it all about numbers. Most people, I'm sure, would agree that that's shouldn't be your main driving factor in anything that you do. But at the end of the day, you do got to pay bills and things like that. So things like storyboard jobs and advertising, commercial art in general is always going to pay you better. It's just the way it is. It's tough to break in those industries. You either have to find agents that will represent you, or you have to get a really nice portfolio, online portfolio. And I'm not talking like, DeviantArt or something like that. I'm not knocking DeviantArt. DeviantArt's great, especially for selling commission work and comic work. But if you're going to get pro work, you're going to need a pro site, and that means a nice site with your name and updated. And I got to update mine. It's pretty bad right now, but I'm working on it. And you got to continually I guess my professional site that looks the best is storyboardsbyram.com. But I made it strictly just for storyboards, just to promote that, because that's the main income that I derive is from that. Now, the digital content stuff is running a close second, and it's getting closer all the time. I haven't been doing it as long, so it's possible that it will kind of overtake that. And the other thing that I want to touch on before I end this or whatever, is that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket is the other thing. So I've had to learn that the hard way in a few ventures of my life. I've owned a sign shop and a graphic shop, and if I ever relied too heavily on one employee or one vendor, it could burn you. And the same thing applies to when you're creating your art. You're this home-based business if you're doing it like I am now. I have a home studio, and I work out of it, and I create this stuff. So you have to remember that if you put all your eggs in one basket, so you have one contributor to your source of income, and they, for any reason, they dislike your work, they dislike you and your values or whatever, you stand to lose everything. Okay, so that can be a very scary proposition, and if it doesn't scare you, then it should. So you gotta think about that, and you gotta say, okay, so how do I combat that? One way is to diversify your income, multiple revenue streams, and the other thing is that you also want to weigh all this, the how much money you make, how much you spend, all these things with how happy you are and what things that you do bring you self-satisfaction and happiness. So the reason why I want to mention that, I know it's a little off the 5 list thing, but I think that's very important to note because there's certain things about doing art that if you're truly happy at what you do, then maybe you don't need to make as much. And that needs to be weighed in with the choice that you make to produce your artwork. So if you're an artist that does fine art, and you don't make much every time you sell a piece, but you love every waking moment that you put into that piece, then that's going to be a little bit different than, say, like with doing commercial art, where you're maybe going to make this large chunk of change at the end of the job, which gives you peace of mind because you're able to provide for your family. But, you're biting nails the whole way through it because it's not, you're having a hard time being excited about the project or whatever the case may be. So you have to weigh those options. And that's a big part that I think gets, everybody kind of overlooks that. At least they don't talk about that as much. And they go, well, just how much do you make and what's this and what's that? But, you really got to think about how happy you're going to be at the end of the day and weigh that against how much you make for that work. It's like with comics. I love comics. I would draw them for a pretty low amount because I really enjoy them. But there's a certain level where I can't go too far because I'm not gonna subject my family to not having the things we need just so I can do what I love to do. If not, I'm just going to make YouTube videos, and that's pretty much what I do. So that's pretty much my reasoning for doing that. I really enjoy creating it, and I want to share that fun with you guys and that knowledge in the process. And hopefully one day I'll get that offer to go up to the big leagues or whatever. But either way, I'm getting to use that outlet. I'm getting to derive some income from it, and so in essence, it's a success for me, So that's my list of 5 ways that I derive income as an artist, as a digital artist. If you got any questions about that, be sure to drop it in the comments section below, and we can talk further about it. Share some of what you've learned and what you know, so that the other aspiring artists that watch this channel can look in those comments and get a better idea. Maybe you're like, you've thought of the secret, you've figured out the secret sauce that I haven't to some of this stuff. Comment below, and we'll all kind of grow from that. So that's the other thing that I really like about sharing this type of stuff on here, is that because of the community, we all learn these very valuable things from each other, and it's a win-win-win. So I appreciate you watching my pretty bad sketches here and listening to me rant on about my 5 ways to make money as an artist. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And follow me on Gumroad for updates on my video tutorials and custom brushes. And I will talk to you soon. So keep drawing, keep having fun, and bye for now.